show you how to make chocolate crinkle cookies. These cookies are considered a drop cookie, which means you make your dough, you scoop it or you spoon it, you drop it onto your pan and you bake it. These are usually associated with the holidays, but they're such a fabulous cookie that you really should make these year-round. It's like a little soft brownie with a crackly crunch on the outside. So we're going to start with unsweetened chocolate. This is going to be melted, and I want to tell you how to melt chocolate so that you don't burn or scorch it. I'm going to use a double boiler. I have my chocolate in a bowl. I have a pot of water heating up. I'm going to bring my water up to a boil, and then I'm going to cut off the heat and put my bowl of chocolate on top and let it melt. You don't want boiling water underneath, just the steamy water. And then we are also going to be melting shortening to go with this. So I want to tell you about a trick for melting shortening or butter and chocolate together. If I take this shortening now and plunk it on top of my chocolate, I'm going to slow down the whole melting process. So I take the shortening and I put it in a pot on the side. I melt that, put the melted shortening on top of the chocolate, and that chocolate will melt like that. So I'm going to save myself a good 5, 6, 7 minutes by doing it that way. And then when the chocolate and shortening is completely melted together, I'm going to pull that off the heat and let it cool for just a moment. After the chocolate and shortening is melted, I'm going to put it in the mixer bowl along with the sugar. And I'll mix this briefly. I'm going to be on a low to medium speed. I'm just trying to blend these two ingredients together. And then I will add eggs one at a time. And I want to make sure that the egg mixes in real well before I add the next egg. And your mixture will look grainy. Expect it to look grainy. It will not look nice and pretty and smooth until you're a little farther along in this process. After the last egg is in, I'm going to give this mixture a real good scrape. When you're making cookies, the scraping process is real important. If you end up with some butter or shortening at the bottom of your bowl, when you get to the last cookie, when you're scooping your cookies, you're going to find that you don't have enough flour in that cookie, and you're going to have one of those spreaders that is going to be much, much flatter than the rest of your cookies. So we'll give that a really good scrape. Then we're going to add vanilla. We'll enhance the flavor of the chocolate. And then I have my dry ingredients left. I have some baking powder, flour, and some salt. You'll usually see salt in cookie recipes just as a flavor enhancer. We're certainly not looking for a salty flavor, but salt will bring out all those other flavors in there, especially the sweetness that we have in cookies. So I just gently whisk the dry ingredients together, and then I'm going to give this mixture one more scrape. And as you scrape, look at the difference in color when you scrape down to the bottom and up the sides. If you see any difference in color or texture, that tells you you need to mix a little bit longer. And then I'll add the dry ingredients. I usually like to add the dry ingredients with my mixer off rather than running. Sometimes if you add the dry and your mixer is running, you can get that flour thrown back at you. So I'm going to put in about half of my flour mixture. And on low, I'm going to blend that. So as you can see, this cookie goes together really quickly. And then in between those flour additions, once again, you do want to scrape. And at this point, before all the flour goes in, it starts to look like a brownie batter. So we'll get this blended in. Give it one more really good scrape. And then the next part is the hard part. You have to wait for your dough to chill. So you can see it's rather soft right now. We want to be able to scoop and round these. So if you try to work with your dough right now, it's going to be too soft to work with. And this entire process, I've been using a low to a low medium speed. If you use a high speed, you'll work a lot of air into your cookie dough. And what that will do for your cookie dough, unfortunately, is cause your cookies to spread a lot more than you want them to. We want these to be nice, plump little cookies that stand up in a nice rounded shape. So the more air you have worked into your mixture, the more your cookies are going to spread. That dough or batter goes into the oven, the air heats up and expands, takes the cookie with it, and there you have little flat cookies. Okay, so as you can see, this is a fairly stiff dough, but it really is a little too sticky at this point to be manageable. So we're going to dump this into another bowl, into the refrigerator, give it about an hour. We'll pull it out, and then we will make our cookies. After your cookie dough has chilled, you'll find that it's much more manageable. I like to use a scoop for my cookies. I'm going to use one full scoop. Scoop out the cookies, and then you want to round them a bit, the palms of your hand. Roll them heavily in powdered sugar. It should look like this. And then place them on your cookie sheet, and they will spread. So I want you to notice the size here. That's how much it's going to spread. So spread your cookies apart so they don't grow together when you bake them. Then they go in the oven. They'll take about 8 or 10, 11 minutes. When they're done, they'll be puffed up, crackled. As they cool down, they'll settle a bit. And your test for doneness for this type of cookie, all of the drop cookies, chocolate chip, peanut butter, these crinkles, is when your cookie is in the oven and it's just done. You can barely lift up the cookie off of your parchment paper. If it sticks, it's not done. If it comes straight up, it is overbaked. You'll find that the chocolate cookies are a little more difficult to tell if they're done because you don't have any coloring to go on. Something like a chocolate chip or peanut butter, you'll have a golden brown rim around the base. But the lift-off test is really a great true test.